Trevor Booker, so smart. Hayward inbounds it to Booker, who tapped it up and in. Oh my goodness, what a play! Booker on his back to the basket from 8 feet out. The pass came to him. He volleyballed it up with 2 hands and it went into the hoop. Trevor Booker, so smart.
This is Steve Novak. We are ready to tip it off. Are you? Let's do this.
Don't worry, I'm going back to my regular Cyrus music. I want to get Steve Novak broadcasting. It is tip-off. I'm in Locke. Dark. Hotel. Milwaukee. Ba, ba, ba. Ba, 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 ba. How are you? Hope you're doing well today. Apologize. It's just a very dark hotel. It's kind of a funky place. Look at this. I know there's some people who might want to see the art. Whoa. So this is up. Let's see. How do I do this? That's up on my wall. Yeah, that's on my wall. Should I just leave her on the whole time? What if I if I left her on the whole time for the show today? How would that be? Gotta figure out how to do that. Yeah, so I'm staring at that last night. She's kind of weird, huh? She's supposed to be sexy? Not sure. Not sure what we think of that. So there's the strange lady that's in my room. Luckily, she's on the wall and not real. Yeah, kind of funky, huh? It's out there. The picture goes all the way across the way. Yeah, kind of trippy. All right, this is the yeah. We'll leave her up for a while. She's better looking than I am, I think. I'm pretty certain she's out there though. This is the Locked On Jazz tip-off, and you can get it on iTunes or Stitcher if you got a second and want to give that lady 5 stars, please do. You can follow us on Facebook at David Locke or Locked On Sports, as well as the Google Plus community Locked On Sports, and on Twitter at Locked On Sports. Thanks for doing all of that. We really appreciate it. Let's hit the NBA 5 to open this up. Atlanta and Golden State are just killing people. I mean, this is really incredible that neither of them have blinked in any way. Golden State's dismantling of Houston last night is a tremendous eye-opener to me, only just because the Warriors won so many in a row. Houston's coming off a bad performance. This thing lined up, but you really saw how limited Houston is. It's interesting. In some ways, I thought last night actually made a case for why James Harden should be the MVP, because you suddenly saw how pedestrian Ariza and Montejunas and Beverly and Dwight Howard was a non-factor, and Josh Smith got ejected. Good, and that Houston team is just not that good. And Harden has kept them going. This Warrior team, on the other hand, is just ridiculously good. Ridiculously good. I mean, they just are clicking along. They shot 50% last night, 45% from 3, 83% from the free throw line. They are just rolling. Andrew Bogut, probably as good as he's been, with 5 block shots last night. 26 assists for them last night is a low number, but they just played brilliant basketball, and they waxed Houston. They outscored them 30-13 in the second quarter, then put 40 up on them in the third quarter. And Atlanta, it's not that they're beating Eastern Conference teams, and it's not that these teams are that good, but they're not close. Atlanta just ran away, 14th in a row, I believe, and they just ran away from Indiana last night. Up by 4 after 1, up by 11 after 2, up by 24 after 3. Sure, they're not great, but that's Indiana's defense is usually pretty good, and they just ran off the same numbers, 30 assists on 39 field goals. They had 4 guys with 4 or more assists last night, and they're Kyle Korver dunked. the star power we saw last night in Cleveland does make you still think that Cleveland clicks in, they can go win the East. And you're still kind of waiting for Chicago, who doesn't seem quite right. But wow, are those two teams just doing special things right now? Atlanta's 35-8. The Warriors are 34-6. Really not close, actually. Atlanta's up 6, and the Warriors are up 4.5. Portland last night, playing without LaMarcus Aldridge, battled hard. Phoenix playing the first of the 8-game gauntlet that will determine their season. They win at 118-113. Nicholas Batum, who's been terrible all year, I think we talked about that the other day at 24% shooting, came back to life at 27, 10, and 5. Bledsoe had 33, Dragic had 16, Thomas had 27. Phoenix is just bizarre. They're truly being carried by just simply the guard play of those three guys. They found a way to win last night. And Jeff's been finding a way to get them to win. Huge win by Oklahoma City last night. They came back to beat Washington after trailing by a fairly good margin and got that one, which you know, frankly, have to get. Toronto's struggles continue. Memphis with a big win there. NBA announced that they're changing the All-Star weekend, and Spence Checkets made a good point yesterday on our pregame show. It might be the beginning of kind of a bigger concept, and that is it's American players in the rookie game. The question is whether you take that to the slam dunk contest, you take that to the three-point shooting contest. How far do you take that to try to make things more interesting? The concept is that you'll have the international players playing the U.S. players. It probably means that Rudy Gobert makes the team, which I think he would have. I don't know what it means for Trey Burke. You suddenly include all first and second year players from America, and Trey Burke may have a hard time making that team along the way. Is woman freaking you out yet? She's pretty trippy. What's she got around her neck? She's out there. It's a chic room. It's one of those rooms with like the halfway see-through shower. See over there? Where is it? Yeah, it's got. So that's the shower. It's got it. It's one of those rooms. We'll leave her up. She's going to be the show. I like it. I like anything you can do to spark up the All-Star Weekend. I like All-Star Weekend. I think it's fun to have all the best players around it. Obviously, it does change a little bit of, it's with all the TV and as much as you see. It used to be that was the only way you saw these guys, right? Now you can see them pretty much anytime you want, but on any channel. But it's a fun weekend. It'll be good for Rudy to get to go, and hopefully Trey gets to make it as well. That is your NBA 5. Let's dig deep into the Utah Jazz. The offense has just obviously hit the skids. I mean, just a tremendous offensive struggle. And you look back at the first half of that game last night, and they're just not guarding their guys. They're going under on Trey. They're giving Ennis a world of room. Joe Ingles is not an offensive threat. The floor gets small for Gordon and Derek at that point. And the thing that really jumped out to me, though, you got to loosen things up, and we just didn't make any shots. I think we took 18 mid-range jumpers, which you're going to take 40% of your shots are going to be mid-range jumpers. Okay, that's just, you can do all you want about shot location, and I live by, I look at it all the time. But if you just look at, the teams offensively that take the smartest shots in the league, other than Houston, who's just an absurd 75% of their shots are, they're playing a different game than everybody else. They might be right. Maybe we should all want to play that. I'm not sure of that yet. But, we're taking 61% of our shots as good shots, restricted area or threes, and we're 10th in the league. That's about where everybody is. So 40% of your shots are going to come from mid-range jumpers or in mid-range, either paint twos or mid-range twos. That's, you can't totally avoid it. You have to take some on just pure mid-range jumpers. And we're going to be high on what I'm about to show you, but just to put it in context, a mid-range jumpers, about 25% of your shots are going to be mid-range jumpers. So you're going to have to make some of those shots. Now, the other night, we got out of our offense, and it's very hard to penetrate and drive and do some of those things. And 20 of our 41 shots were classified as bad shots. And so we were a little high, and 18 of 41 shots were mid-range jumpers at 43% of those shots, and we're usually at 25. Okay, so it was definitely a lot of jump shots. Well, you've got to make some of those jump shots to loosen up the defense, or else they're just going to pack the paint, not stretch out to your three-point shooters. If there's no threat, then that's where you're going to end up. And we are 4 of 18 on mid-range shots. So we just didn't do anything to break the defense, make the defense react, and they just sat in that shell, and we had a brutal night. I mean, at some point, you just got to – this is a very simple game. You got to make some shots, and you got to have some guys that can make some shots. We shot 31% in the first half of the game, just not – the offense it's a scuffle right now. Now, the second half in a game that was not as – we're down 28 at one point, so it's hard to put any value in this. Ennis explodes and has 16 points and 18 rebounds in the second half, and we shoot 50%. So maybe that's a positive sign of things to come, and we only take 14 of our 43 shots as mid-range shots, only 11 of them there. So we started to get the paint. We 14 of 18 at the rim in the restricted area in the second half, somewhat because of 8 offensive rebounds, 4 of them by Ennis. Along the way. Ennis had a good game on the offensive glass. He still was 3 of 9 shooting on his mid-range jumper, which is a little better than he's been, but he's just been way off on that shot. Trey is now 2 of his last 20. Rudy had almost no impact on that game. In fact, was on the floor for most of the runs that went the wrong way last night. Then second half was on the floor when I think he was only -5 in the second half, but we didn't have much of an impact on the game last night. Nobody did. Cleveland plugged in, played with great tenacity, came at us and locked us down. And that's second straight game that's happened last night. As the Jazz really they got blown out in kind of 2 different stretches of the game last night. Hopefully this will ignite Ennis, 24 points and 17 rebounds. But offense is going to be a struggle. The one thing that was being pointed out a great deal by Ron Boone, and the Jazz only had 1 fast break chance in the first half. They've got to get the early thrust into the offense. Without the early thrust, they're late in the shot clock. The shots are difficult, and without a high level of shot makers on the floor. So we'll see if they can figure that out. That would be the thing to watch. Milwaukee, you don't think of Milwaukee as a great defensive team, but let me tell you something. This is as tough a challenge defensively as there is in the league right now. They're incredibly long. Antetokounmpo is a huge part of that. Giannis sits at the top of the key in their free throw line in some of their defenses and reaches from one side to the other. But this is the number 2 defense in the NBA. 23rd offensively, number 2 defense in the NBA. Warriors number 1, Atlanta's number 3. Houston, who got boat raced last night's number 4. And then if you go put a little split on it, I think if you put it the last 15, they're right. They're really even have gotten better. It's pretty impressive that without Larry Sanders, Zaza Pachulia was very good. Last 15 games, this is the number 1 defense in the NBA. Interesting, Charlotte's number 2, Atlanta's number 3. Some of the Eastern Conference teams playing each other again. Detroit's number 5. And the Western Conference teams suddenly are slipping because they're playing each other. The eye-opener there, by the way, on the last 15 games is Toronto is 27th in the NBA defensively. The Clippers are 20th. The Bulls are 19th. And Oklahoma City's still 14th. So it's going to be, this is going to be this could be another tough one, because of the defensive prowess of the Milwaukee Bucks. Let me take 2 calls, and then I've got to jump and go to breakfast actually with a good friend who lives in Milwaukee. In the past, you've talked about winning teams needing a big that can pass the ball. Is there anything you see or notice about Rudy or Derek that shows they can be that for the Jazz? Yeah, I think both of them have shown some propensity for passing. Rudy, I think, had 3 more assists last night. I think Derek's showing some. They're not great passers. Zaza Pachulia tonight's a really good passer, maybe the best passer on the Bucks team. Well, some of these guys, we don't have that kind of passer, and we definitely need that kind of passer. From Doug Chung, Exum played a lot yesterday. Do you think he'll continue to get heavy minutes? No, I mean, I think he's really looks pretty physically beaten out there right now. I think that was more in reaction to Trey's 1 of 10 and 2 of 20 start in the last 2 games, and so Dante stayed out there. I think they're trying to play Dante, 20, 24 minutes a night, and I think they're having a hard time doing it. Dante's scuffling, and that's fine. That's what I think we could have anticipated, but that's also the reality of what he's doing. All right, have a good one. Hope you enjoyed the lady staring at you all day. I'm now back, and I'm saying goodbye. Have a good one. That is tip-off.